Joining me now is Josh Fox, director and producer of Gasland and Gasland 2. And Josh, you have been reporting on, documenting the fracking explosion in this country for years now. You have been also pouring through the lawsuit.
I have.
And you stand here today. You stand with Rex.
Well, either Rex Tillerson has just joined the anti-fracking movement, or he's completely exposed all of the hypocrisy, the brutality, and the unfairness in this entire system. So this is the way it happens to everyone. This is the way it happened to me. When I found out that fracking was coming to my backyard, I first got worried about just value of land impacts. You know, what was this going to be? Noise, lights, trucks. That's what he's first talking about. But then, of course, the next thing that happens is you realize that, oh my God, the whole water table under my town could be contaminated. I should be concerned about my town. And then you realize, oh, there's regional air pollution involved, volatile organic compounds, chemicals volatilizing in the air. We have to talk about this as a regional issue. And then you might realize then that this is 60 years plus of fossil fuel development that would engender like a whole new era of fossil fuels. So wait, we can't do that. We're going to cook the whole planet. That's climate change. We have to worry about the climate. We should go to the government about this. Then you worry. Then you realize, oh no, wait, my own companies, the oil companies, spend $400,000 a day lobbying Washington, so we don't have a recourse in Washington. Right. I guess I might have to sue in private court to stop this in my backyard.
And the lawsuit, I mean, as you said, the lawsuit is every time that people encounter this in their backyards, and they do get radicalized very quickly, it does start on this basic stuff of there are trucks all the time. Yeah. There is an amazing amount of noise. There's an amazing amount of disruption. Everything in this lawsuit just
Everything in this lawsuit
I
agree with. I hope they win and set a legal precedent. I mean, what they're asking here for is a permanent injunction, a ban. And what they're saying here is that this substantially impairs and diminishes uses, values, and enjoyment of the property. It's detrimental to public health, safety, morals, comfort, the general welfare. They're saying that their property rights are unique and irreplaceable.
Okay,
there's negligence, gross negligence, malice, all the things
how have these companies like ExxonMobil and others, reacted when those kinds of cases have been made in court before?
100% denial. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars spent to discredit the reporting in my film and all of the New York Times, thousands of news stories on this. 15 million Americans live within 1 mile of a fracking well right now. And that means, and this campaign is in its infancy. They want to drill 2 million new wells in the United States.
Yeah, people need to understand that this thing has exploded at an absolutely unprecedented rate. We have a map, actually, of the areas that are being fracked right now in the United States. It comes courtesy of Gasland.
This is a map of the shale plays, of the places they could be leasing. They're not all being fracked right now, but that's the potential. The oil and gas industry has actually leased more land than the total land mass of California and Florida combined, and that's a checkerboard.
Okay, but Josh, you and I are both climate folks, very concerned about climate, and you look at the emissions of this country, and they've gone down, and everyone says natural gas is the reason. It's much better than coal. What do you want to burn coal? Do you want to push us into a melting planet?
The CO2 emissions have perhaps gone down. A lot of that was due to the recession.
Right.
But methane emissions are exploding. And when we're looking at the total greenhouse gas impact, right, not just the CO2, the natural gas industry will come in and say, oh, we burn cleaner than coal. But they're not reporting the fact that there's all of this methane that's leaking out of these sites, and it is shown to be offsetting any climate benefit in the short 20-year period, because methane is 100 times more potent than CO2 is for warming the atmosphere.
It's a much thicker blanket.
And they even just showed that those buses that say clean burning natural gas, transportation is one of the worst, that it's actually worse than diesel fuel to use natural gas in terms of greenhouse gases.
Josh Fox, who's the director of Gasland 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, joining me now from Washington, D.C., Congressman Jared Polis of Colorado. And Congressman, you too were welcoming Exxon CEO Rex Tillerson to the cause today.
Well, you know, the same thing happened to me, Chris. So I never thought I'd say it, but I sympathize with the poor CEO of ExxonMobil, because the truth is nobody wants this to happen to them. We had a huge 150-foot tower literally at the foot of our driveway, and it was 24-hour operation, loud all night, trucks coming in. 2 months they were drilling before they even entered the extraction phase. This is happening to thousands of my constituents in Colorado, which is why 4 of the 5 biggest cities in the district I represent have actually passed moratoriums or bans on fracking, and guess what? ExxonMobil and other companies are now suing those cities to overturn those bans and force them to frack.
So one of the things that I find amazing about the fracking explosion, it is if you go you travel through the country, you go to places in town halls, it's one of the most controversial issues in the country on the ground, whether you're in Colorado or you're in upstate New York or you're in Pennsylvania. In Washington, it's not controversial. In Washington, it seems like there's a huge consensus. We need to extract as much as we can. This technology is great. It unleashes all this natural gas. That's good for the climate. That's good for American energy independence. Is there just a consensus in Washington that this is great?
Well, you know what? It is one of the biggest issues I hear about from constituents. They're worried about property values. And guess what? Instead of a $5 million house, they might have a $200,000 house. But I've talked to realtors who said they've lost sales because people don't want to buy houses that have industrial fracking operations right next to them. So this is affecting my constituents. It doesn't mean the natural gas isn't part of our energy present, our energy future. There's plenty of appropriate areas to do it. But you can't give everything away to the industry, and we need to make sure that homeowners are reasonably safe, or else nobody's going to want to live or be able to live in extraction areas.
Is there an appetite for that among your colleagues? I mean, let me give you this little nugget here. This is from Li Feng, who was reporting from Public Report in The Nation. With little fanfare, one of Chevron's top lobbyists, Stephen Sale, has become a senior staff member of the House Committee on Science, the standing congressional committee charged with maintaining our scientific and technical leadership in the world. I think people see reports like that, and they just basically think that Washington is a wholly owned subsidiary of the fossil fuel companies.
Well, you know, that's why the small towns in my district, Lafayette, Colorado, 25,000 people, Broomfield, 45,000, they've taken it into their own hands. They've put before their voters moratoriums for a couple of years on fracking. They've passed, in many cases, overwhelmingly, and now they're being sued by, among others, the very people who are also now have the CEO who's suing in his own area not to have it.
Well, I think it would only be right if Rex Tillerson would share his lawyer with some of the other people who could use a lawyer like that after when this suit is finished, particularly if he wins. I think, you know, it would only be sporting of him.
It's really bullying. I mean, these towns have 20, 25,000 people. It's hard to afford a major lawsuit against a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's really a form of bullying.
Congressman Jared Polis of Colorado, thank you so much. All right, who needs to understand the nuances and complexities of conflicts around the world? We have this.
The Ukrainian people will determine their own future. They want to be Western.
Fighting for the opposition. They're my heroes.
Today, we are all Georgians.
The John McCain School of Foreign Policy up next.